Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this narration of the web series Very Clever Primitives. This is the last chapter in this series. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below, and, as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 19. Being escorted out of the room was simple enough. The blonde-haired woman that had announced each of the representatives walked over to me along with Dmitri. Dmitri was the muscle behind my escort as we made our way towards the back entrance. From what I could gather as I left the room, the discussions were fairly free-form between various leaders and the high commanders. It didn't matter to me, not anymore. Call me petty if you wish, but my job was done. I was no longer needed for this political game. I was free from my duties and could return to where I was needed, what I was good at. As we left those large, dark red, wooden double doors to the hallway, I was overwhelmed as a sudden onslaught of blinding white flashes and human voices bellowed out. Microphones and cameras were shoved into my direction as I nearly leaned on that large human male while we marched through the sea of bodies. "What happened when you first arrived, Scholar?" one voice demanded to know. "Is all of humanity worth condemning for what happened? Did they probe you? Did they try and dissect you? Do you think humanity as a whole is ready for the space age?" These humans were parasites. I hated them for the second I heard their voices. I knew their type. They were scum. They feasted on gossip. They swam in half-truths and, some right, downright lies. Not even Valar was safe from their kind. They were the press and, while they were essential to transmit news to the people, they were worms that cared little of how they extracted their information. Not even an exhausted, world-weary alien was safe from their prying questions and invasions of personal space. Dmitri was able to keep them from getting too close, and the blonde human was doing a fantastic job of rattling off vague answers that would do little but make the information junkies salivate for more. The press would get their stories. Eventually. Of that, I was certain. If Valan press was notorious for discovering things by putting their snouts where they didn't belong, I could only shudder with horror as to how these crafty humans got their information. People likely died in the pursuit of gossip. Of that, I was certain. Various security personnel were doing a fantastic job as well. But when a mob of cameras breached the wall, it'd take an army to keep them back. And these were just the ones that were lucky enough to secure special badges. These were trusted reporters. I could only imagine the animals that were outside. My heart began to race, and I became ever more excited at the thought of returning back to my ship, away from these humans. If I was to see this species again, I would want to wait for the dust of first contact to settle. My eagerness to learn from our apparently new companions was only defeated by my desire to get back to the ship and take a long, deserved rest. I missed my bed. I missed my work. I missed Skaresh. My scales went blue. Skaresh was imprisoned on the ship still. Worry washed over me as I thought of my student. What a bright future I foresaw for that deformed Valan. The Valan that never saw the cosmos with biological eyes. I hoped that she wasn't making things worse on herself. She had a habit of letting her emotions get the better of her. She would have been far better choice for humanity's first alien contact. Or perhaps not. That nymph would have made a foolish decision with the general. She was still so very young. It was troubling how concerned I was for her well-being. This wasn't normal. She was my pupil. Nothing more. And yet, I worried for her safety more than I usually would. I longed to see her face. She was no emotional or reproductive partner. Yet the thoughts of those sick human children rushed into my mind as I thought of my own sick child back on the ship. Skaresh had so much potential for greatness, and I knew that. Someday, she would even surpass my extended resume. I had the makings of a paragon of scholarship. I knew that she could very well be a high commander if she wanted it. Anything that nymph wanted to do, she could do. Every challenge I gave her, despite whining and complaining, was done completely and perfectly. My scales swirled with yellow. I was proud of that brat. Eventually, the security of the building was able to get the riled-up press out of the way completely. some even being arrested on the spot for getting too close. My word, humanity really was stepping up to the plate. True, I had not been harmed, but I guessed humanity was tired of their hiccups. There were rights spoken of and people hauled away. The reporters screamed freedom of press or something, but security did not care. No more screw-ups were allowed and, in all likelihood, I imagined these reporters would be released once I returned to the shop. Besides, there were already several diplomats on Earth eager to please and eager to talk. I guess they were not as savory of stories as I was. We weaved through security checkpoints, the blonde-haired female soon taking her leave, her duty done to help escort me. She had pressed to please herself. It freed me to look up towards the behemoth of an escort. A smile began to form on his chapped lips while his boots slammed down on the carpet with audible thumps. "You did good, alien," he simply said as he walked down the long hallway. "I don't really think that I did anything at all," I replied, looking down to my feet. It was true, the human leaders did all the work. "You built the bridge. They was up to your leaders and I was to walk in on it." He nodded, his smile growing warm. "No one expected your review of us to be particularly pleasant. It was somewhat of a wake-up call to many humans." "Somehow I doubt that, Dmitri," I sneered. "I cannot cast judgment on you all. It is not my place. Still, how come so many people are without homes? How come so many go without medical treatment? How come—" "There are many things that keep us from moving forward. Humanity has, I think, grown comfortable." He shrugged his shoulders. "I am not a politician or a strategist. I am just a big guy with lots of muscle and a knack for keeping his mouth shut. But between you and me, now that this is all said and done, humanity needs a kick in the balls by a large orbiting planet," he cackled. "A slap, no, a punch to the face to make us realize just how small we really are." He continued to laugh. "We're all small in the universe. The Valan could continue to grow for millions of years, and we'd still be about a whisper amongst shouting voices with how grand it all is," I muttered, causing Dmitri to nod, poking one of his fingers into my arm. "Ow." "Exactly. The issue with humanity is we think that we are oh so big. Take it from me. I am large, even by human standards. None of this discussion means anything. But since you've already heard the entire world give you their opinions, what's one more, eh?" he asked, actually causing me to burst out with laughter, the large man's smile growing into a crooked, toothy grin. "You have a point, Dmitri," I managed to utter between laughs. "I know I do. A lot of people do. You included. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one, and they're usually full of shit. The point is that it doesn't matter if humanity agreed with yours or not. What matters is if they're willing to listen. Not a lot of leaders are willing to do that. Already, I can see that things are looking up. Humanity was humbled, thanks to you. It'll take a lot to rise up at that golden spire that we're used to," he chuckled. "And what happens to us when humanity stands on that golden spire?" I asked the large man, whose hands were big enough to crush my head like a rotten fruit. "Then we see your people's character, Skalan. We get to see the Valan humbled." He spoke in a grim tone. "We get to see people who, for thousands of years, were the pinnacle of civilization, be matched. If you wish to be worried about our species coexisting, that is what to worry about. I have seen what happens to when two superpowers refuse to compromise. It is not pretty." His tone soured. I swallowed, my head turning backwards towards the human speaking with the Valan diplomats, my scales turning a bright green with anxiety. "But that's where people like you come in," Dmitri chimed in as we approached the back exit of the complex. "People like you who have seen the good and bad. You are likable, Skalan, if a bit workaholic," Dmitri rumbled, his tone becoming jovial once again as he walked out. A beautiful, pleasant breeze hitting my scales, the warmth of the system sun making me shudder. I never really took the time to see how beautiful the world was. I was told that this world was a harsh place. I was told that this world would rip me apart from inclement weather and clashing climates. Yet, from what I could see, that beautiful sky and the billowing white clouds of water vapor painted portraits that would make any Valan artist orange with irritable envy. This world was beautiful in its own way, and so were its people. Humanity had so much untapped potential, From their cultures to their very DNA, they could survive anywhere, and woe be unto anyone that told them no. They made outstanding scientists, able to reach the cosmos with primitive calculators, and even better soldiers with bodies that pumped nearly lethal doses of adrenaline into their veins. As my violet eyes peered at the Valon shuttle that had been made ready for me and a few of the diplomats here, I sighed in a bit of sorrow. My entire stay on Earth was me just wanting to go back home. I never took a chance to enjoy what this world had to offer. A bit of amazing human food and a near overdose of caffeine was something to remember, but there was so much more to experience. This was a world with over 100 different countries and cultures. I only knew 2, the United States and Valon culture. If an agreement can be met regarding these human Valon places or study, will you return, Skalan? Dmitri asked as we approached the shuttle. I shrugged my shoulders. It all depends on if I'm needed elsewhere. I am a planetary-scale biologist, Dmitri. I can't let wanderlust drag me away from my duty, I replied. You let those higher steams rule your life. What will your life be once you are at its end? Here lies Scholar Skalan. He did what he was told. Dmitri scoffed. I simply laughed. A few warrior caste hopping out of the shuttle, ready to escort me inside. They looked just about as eager to get home as me. My legacy will be what I have done for people other than myself. It doesn't matter if I am not remembered. What matters is the things I've done. You may not remember the individual who invented the wheel, but you still use 4 wheels on your land shuttles, right? I inquired, a look of satisfaction on my face. The individual doesn't matter for the Valon. We're all equal. I will die knowing I did everything I could so my race could prosper. Dmitri shrugged, a huff of disbelief rising from him. How noble, he replied, reaching into his coat pocket, pulling out a rectangular plastic-like item and handing it to me. Regardless, I'm sure these people will remember you. He smirked, looking down at the picture. I saw an image of Dr. Mormheim and many of the children my treatments helped save. My scale shifted to a bright yellow as I gazed upon the image. The human children were holding a sign that read, in big, hastily drawn letters, "Thank you, Skalan." It was absolutely adorable. It's important to look at the big picture, but even little things like that, little things like taking a trip to a hospital and treating sick kids when you have the power to do so, it may not be galaxy-changing, but it matters just as much, he said, before bursting into laughter. But who am I to say such things? I'm just a hired muscle. You take care now, Skalan, and always remember that no matter how wise someone may appear, at the end of the day, there's a billion more words of wisdom people are eager to shove into your ears. Take everything with a grain of salt. He nodded as I turned, walking onto the shuttle, taking a seat. Thanks, I said in a hushed tone as the warriors all boarded after me, the shuttle door closing as we all buckled in for the exit of Earth's atmosphere. Good, a male Valon soldier huffed in his communicator. Let's get off this damned primitive rock. My eyes narrowed towards him, my scales orange with irritation. Keep saying that. I promise, in 200 or 300 years, we'll be the primitive ones, I barked, causing the other warriors to laugh. Whatever you say, Skalan. The soldier shrugged as we lifted up off the ground. There were no windows on the shuttle, only monitors to the ground below. I thought I would see Agent Brown one last time before I left this planet. Alas, he was not there. The one human I spent the most time with was gone. I would likely never see him again. Soon, the only thing I saw on the monitors was the flames of exiting Earth's atmosphere. Once the last rumble of the exit was gone, I slouched into my seat, hands reaching into my coat pockets. That was weird. I felt something in my pocket that wasn't there before. Pulling it out, I saw a strange rectangular device. My eyes went wide when I realized what it was. It was Agent Brown's communication device. How did he manage to slip that in my pocket? How did I not notice this? My heart began to race. If this was slipped on my person with such ease, what could have been taken from me? There was a paper note stuck in the back of the device, hastily written English words on a white paper. Hey, Skalan got caught up with work, so couldn't say goodbye. The code for getting into this phone is 1234. I made it easy for you. I know you hated the music I played for you, but I put a bunch of music on this that I thought you would like. Just slip the 2 tiny speakers into your ears if you can. Unlock the phone and hit play. I already have the program up. Anthony, or as you know me, Agent Brown. My scales grew yellow as we approached my home ship. I did as the note instructed, trying my best to get those speakers into my ears. It was a struggle, but I was eventually able to. I tapped the button on the front of the device, a screen asking for a code appearing with a bunch of digits. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was greeted by a bright white screen with a grayscale image of a man sitting at a piano with a triangle pointing to the right appearing at the center of it. I blinked, the stringed instruments and the music pleasant to my ears. My scales turned a bright, almost golden yellow as I listened, my eyes glued to the monitor, watching the Earth slowly fade away as the port door to the home ship opened so the shuttle could enter. My eyes turned down to the bright screen, reading the text under the name, Noel Coward, 20th Century Blues. Yes, that made sense. It was a phrase repeated many times throughout the song. The man singing had quite the voice. I was enthralled by it. I'd hardly noticed the shuttle lurch as we docked, the warriors unbuckling their safety harnesses and nudging my shoulder, causing the speakers in my ears to pop out, the fins stretching outwards, and a sudden lack of pleasant music. You're home, genius. Let's go so I can get something to eat. Skodar has got something called wings from Earth and snuck them onto the shuttle. You need to try human food, Skalan. It's amazing. The normally indifferent warrior purred as he walked off the ship onto the cold steel floor. I couldn't help but chuckle, raising those speakers into my ears again and unfastening my safety harness. There was almost a skip in my step as I pressed play once more. A piece of Earth seemed to follow me home. What a wonderful gift from Agent Brown. I guess humanity wasn't that bad. However, my first goal was to find Skaresh. Despite my strolling and joy at finally being on my home ship, I was still quite worried about my pupil. Was she still imprisoned? That question is what led me to the ship's holding cells, usually reserved for Valan that got too intoxicated during the work breaks. I hummed along to Noel Coward as my hands moved towards my pockets, the hustle and bustle of the Valan on the ship very distant as my mind swam in those pleasant notes. I found myself fond of the song, World Weary. It was quite nice to hear that humanity could be soft and not so loud and intense all of the time. As I reached the holding cells, I was a bit stunned not to find Skaresh behind the glass walls. Every cell was empty. I blinked, looking over the warrior cast that let me in. Taking out one of my ear speakers, she shrugged. Hey, don't get mad at me, Scar Earth. I just work here, she cackled. My eyes narrowed, scales turning orange. Not funny, I rumbled, causing further amusement to rise out of the holding cell. Oh, you can't take a joke. Skaresh is waiting up in the biolabs. All we've been hearing about while you were down there was you. Quite frankly, we're all kind of tired of hearing your name. She nodded. I sighed. I could sympathize with her, even giving her a nod of my own. Not my choice, Lona, I spoke, using her informal name, causing her scales to turn light yellow in thanks. I know, Lan. A lot of us are just itching to have a slice of normal again. Things have been pretty tense, you know. My cast has pretty much been at the ready to be told to storm the gates if anything happened to you, she said, her scales shifting a deep violet. I've killed dangerous monsters and creatures on different planets, but I've never gone up against sapient things before. I'd do it, but it'd be like tyranny, I asked, quills rising, scales orange. Yeah, we wouldn't do that, would we? We wouldn't, actually wage war against another species. It's different killing animals. I don't know. Humans have families too. It'd be like trying to kill my clutch sister. She spoke softly. That was odd to see. I'd never seen a warrior cast so afraid before. We're different, but we still think. We still have the same higher brain power. Maybe I'm just an idiot here, Lan, but I really hope our two species get along. I don't want to kill anybody. She trailed off. I took in a breath to say something, but in all reality, there was nothing I could say. The warrior caste, charging with warfare, suddenly had their jobs become far, far more grim. A thought that never occurred to me, a scholar. I just made their weapons. It wasn't my job to kill anything. Oh, gods. Thank goodness things did not turn sour on Earth. After a few more words exchanged with Skolana, I took my leave and, in silence this time, took the lift to the scholarship labs. My thoughts began to swim with what Skolana said. It never occurred to me that things could have turned that ugly. War never appeared in my mind, and with how primitive humanity was, it never occurred to me that war, with technological advanced species like us, would have turned into genocide very, very quickly. Good gods, what were the high commanders prepared to do with their flagships? I shook my head at those thoughts as I made my way down the halls towards the biolabs, pressing my hand against the lock to the side that slowly opened. I tisked as I looked into the dark room. The dull glow of my terminal, as well as the bioluminescence of a certain small Valan nymph, scales a deep violet, appeared before me. She was curled up in the corner. How unsanitary. She shattered several lab safety protocols by doing so. Ahem, I announced, flipping on the lights, an amused yellow on my scales. Skaresha's head rose up from her knees, her cybernetic green eyes staring holes into me. Lan? She asked, slowly rising up. Hello, Skaresh. I heard you've had an exciting time. Why so violent? I asked, chuckling under my breath. Apologies about my extended vacation. You must have been worried. Explosively so, I teased, chuckling under my breath before a sudden rush from underdeveloped Valan ran into my personal space, to clawed hands shoving my chest. I stumbled back, the lower gravity of the ship finally getting to me as I nearly fell to the adjacent wall. 3 rotations, Skalan! 3 rotations! I sat in a cell worried sick over you, she chirped, her scales a livid red. We all thought... I know, Resh, I replied softly, my gaze falling to the steel door. You could have died, Skalan, I know. If you did, I took a few steps forward, watching Resh's scales become deep violet, jitters of woe erupting from her snout as I took the sides of her face onto my palms. This violation of sanitation was acceptable. I'm here, Resh, I whispered, and I'm not going anywhere, I cued. Skaya's voice echoed in my mind. Resh was not just my pupil. Resh was more than that. Resh was, whether I liked it or not, my legacy. I swear it to the gods, Resh. So long as you need me, I'll be here. Resh's eyes moved upward, peering at me in wonder, her violet scales becoming yellow with elation. Do you promise? Do you swear to the gods, Lan? She asked, her tone of voice rising. I swear to the gods. You were right about them too, you know. While on Earth, I begged for them to keep me safe. Here I am, I spoke, removing my hands from her. And we have a lot of work to do, I said, a determined look appearing on my face. Skaresha's head tilted to the side in confusion. Already? You've only just come back. Don't you want to rest? She asked, causing me to laugh heartily. Well, of course, don't mean immediately. I'm just saying that soon I'll need to make sure that you're ready, I nodded. Ready? Skalan, I'm quite a few revolutions away from being accepted by the Academy of Scholarship as a full-fledged scholar, she muttered, my eyes narrowing in amusement. That's the Valan standard, yes, but after everything you've done and proven to me, both during my tutelage of you and your outbursts here on the ship, I think a grander destiny is in store for you, I chirped, causing the young Valan to blink in confusion. If all goes according to plan, we will need scholars to go to Earth to teach humanity. Out of every scholar I've ever met, you're the most, human-like. If it comes up, you're getting my recommendation to go there, I announced, Resh's scales turning a bright blue. Me? Why would I ever want to go to that planet filled with monsters? Did you forget what they did to you already? She barked, scales turning a fierce red. Chuckling, I handed her the picture of Dimitri had given me, Skaresh's gaze falling upon it, the red in her scales softening to a variety of muted colors as she lost herself in thought. Humans are equal parts clever, terrifying, and curious. They are capable of great things. Whether or not those great things are terrible or amazing is up to both the ones that make it through this schooling the humans proposed and our own example. We need to be equals to them. Again, out of every Valan I know, I believe you would fit best down there, I said, crossing my arms, a warm yellow glow to my scales as I looked at my protégé. "That, and I'll get you out of my quills for a few revolutions," I cackled, causing the young nymph's scales to grow a bright orange as I turned to exit the lab. "Where do you think you're going, Scalan?" she snapped, causing me to stop in my tracks. "I'm going to bed." Strangely, she didn't stop me after that. No thoughts went through my mind as I made my way down the lab halls towards my quarters, opening them up, letting them shut behind me. I completely disrobed and fell onto my bed, rolling up in those soft, inviting sheets, my head resting on the cloud-like pillow. I was home, and everything I had been through, the people I'd met, the sights I'd seen, I was finally safe in bed. My eyes slowly began to close, my scales nearly bursting from bioluminescent light as I felt sleep slowly begin to drape over me. "Good night, Earth," I whispered, as consciousness slowly left my body. End of chapter. End of story. The algorithm reckons you should be watching this video next, and I recommend that you should be always watching my video. So, click with energy! And yes, clicking that does help the channel. Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank the T5 members and Patreons. Alithia, Barkey, Feudikiol, Meridian 117, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Albard and Gusta, Lord Ashrakul, and White Van 420.